Welcome back to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Scott Reeb, and we have a special guest with us today, Otis McGregor. Otis is a man whose life story encapsulates the very essence of resilience and leadership. It's not only a retired Green Beret, but also a dedicated leadership coach and co-host of the Otis and Cam Show, and that's where I met Otis. And the driving force behind Tribe and Purpose that you'll see right there on his hat if you're watching this on YouTube. And he helps individuals and businesses find their clarity and purpose. Otis, I'm sure I haven't done you justice with that intro, but that's, to me, that's who you are. And then you do a lot of cool stuff. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. And by the way, since you were on the show, we rebranded the show to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. So if the listeners search for Cam and Otis, they'll still find us. But we wanted to get it a little bit narrower, focused on who and what we're doing.
I like that. Okay, we'll have that in the show notes and make it easy for everybody to find it. I want to dive in, Otis, to your leadership philosophy. I mean, having served as a Green Beret, how has that experience shaped your leadership philosophy?
Well, it put me in a sense of working with the best. And when you work with the best, you're continuously challenged. And what I mean by that is there was rarely a time when I would say, hey, this is what we should do. And one of the guys didn't go, hey, sir, what did you think about this? And have we ever considered that? Or this is a better way that we might want to try it. And when you surround yourself with people that are, one, smarter and better than you, you know you're in the right room. And two, they're not afraid to challenge you. They're going to make you a better leader. And those times that I spent on a team with a very close net group of guys, because we were all we had when we deployed, that level of trust and the ability to have confidence in myself. And I'll come back to the trust, because I think that's one of my foundations. That's where it started, was the, hey, boss, yeah, we hear what you're saying, but maybe we ought to consider this. And then when I said, yeah, I hear what you're saying, now this is the decision I make. The other thing is they would say, yes, sir, 3 bags full, and move out in full speed. It was never any, well, that's stupid. They knew they could challenge me. And if I said, no, I know, and here's the reasons why I know this is what we have to do, then we would do it. And if you bear with me, one thing I said I'd talk about trust, which is one of my foundational things for a leader to be successful. And I define it as the trust triad. And the trust triad, 3, right? 3 sides, triangle, call it a triangle if you want, but I call it a triad. It starts with yourself. You got to know who you are. You got to trust and believe in the decisions that you make. And when you believe that the decisions that you make are the best decisions that you can make in the moment you make them, with the information and time that you have to make that decision, that's trusting yourself. Then you have to trust your team. Trust your team to do the job that you hired them to do. Otherwise, why are you paying them? Why are they there? Right? Yeah. I got to trust them to do the job I hired them to do. And when I have those 2 in place, then the third one comes in, and that's the team trust me. They trust me, and they believe in me, and they believe that every decision that I make has the best interest of the organization in mind. It's not, how does Otis make more money? How does Otis get promoted? Better bonus, better IPO. It's none of that. Right. They believe that the organization is where my focus is.
Wow. So how does one become a Green Beret?
We called ourselves triple volunteers. I mean, the simplicity of it is that you volunteer to join the Army, you volunteer to go to airborne school, and you volunteer to go to become a Green Beret. It's that simple. You only just have to volunteer 3 times.
Yeah.
There's a lot that comes with each one of those times you raise your hand, if you will.
Yeah, and that so the third time you raise your hand, I know you go through some really intense training, and that's why you can trust uh, your team members. At the first level of training, yeah, everyone's been through basic training and knows the basics. It's a little harder to trust everyone because it's not equal. But when you get to that third level, and you guys have been through the fire together to become a team, that gives you that level of trust where you can take that input while you're out fighting and make decisions, and they know to trust you with your final decision, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. What it means is the trust level starts higher,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because, and the other great thing, when you're in the military, everybody knows your job and they know what their job is because we've all gone to a school, we've all been classified, we all have our rank, so it's not you walk into a room and everybody's wearing a suit and you're like, gosh, who's the guy in charge?
Yeah.
In the military, you walk into a room and you know who's in charge because you know what? He's the highest ranking man in the room or woman in the room. You know that person's in charge. So those two things, that clarity of who's in charge and who's doing what role are so important because on a special ops team, an operational detachment alpha, we had skill sets of experts, weapons, medical, communications, engineer, intelligence. We had those skill sets, and these guys, they spent anywhere from 6 months to a year training in that specialty. They're the best of the best in that specialty. So that's who they were. And we knew that. I knew that guy was the weapons guy. I knew that guy was my medic. And, and they knew I was the team leader. And those two things, that clarity of our roles enabled that trust to go forward. But you still have to build it up, right? We probably started like if you put trust on a scale of 0 to 100, we would probably start at a 75. Whereas in a lot of other organizations where you don't have any of that clarity when you walk into a room, you don't have the common background, you don't have a common understanding, a common language, a role clarity, or even a clarity on who's the boss sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that. You're starting down at like 20%. And you got to work your way up to where I walked into a room on a special forces team and I'm already up there at 70, 80%. And it's my job to get to 100% and my opportunity to get knocked down to 20% or less.
Okay. So you got to be clear on your mission. You got to be clear on everyone's jobs. How do you, and that's, so I hear you saying that's fairly easy in the special teams situation. How does that translate to a small business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it starts with, well, why do you have the business? What's the purpose of the business? You got to have that clarity and understanding. And everybody that's in that organization, that's in that business, has to have that clarity and understanding. And then each person in that business has to understand what their role is in that business. And in order for them to truly perform how they should perform, how me as a boss or owner wants them to perform, they have to see how their role fits in to that purpose. They have to see that direct line. May not be very straight sometimes, but they've got to see how what they do, what they're performing at, has a significant contribution to the success of the organization. It's a Maslow hierarchy of needs. If you want to throw it out there and validate the requirement, we have to feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. And being part of something bigger than ourselves, we have to also feel like that we're contributing to that. We can't just, here's my membership card, here's my employee ID, I'm showing up and sucking oxygen and taking a paycheck. No, if you want that person to perform, they've got to understand what their role is in accomplishing the purpose of the business. how do I fit into this pie?
So how do you do that?
Well, you have to be clear. So start off founder, or we can even take it down. We can even take it down to a small organization in a large business. Either way, it doesn't matter. The principles are all the same, no matter the size of the business. You got to know what the purpose is. You got to know why we're all here, because otherwise we're just a gaggle of people. We have a purpose, then we can have a tribe. But you have to have that, and you also have to have the values defined.
Core values.
And I've lost count of how many businesses I've been in, Scott, where I walk into the conference room and there's this beautiful board of the values, and sometimes I've even seen them written on one of those glass sheets, and this beautiful calligraphy.
Yeah,
I couldn't read it. So if I can't read it as somebody coming in to help grow this business and help reestablish the purpose of this business and get that clarity for them going forward, and I can't even read it in a conference room, how do you expect your team to know it? So you got to have your purpose. You got to be clear on the purpose of the organization and clear on the values of the organization. And the individuals have to understand what's that purpose. They need to be able to tell you, not recite, because I don't believe in memory, memorization, because memorization doesn't do any of us good. You have to your team has to be able to tell you what the purpose of the business is and what the values of the business is, and how their personal values align with the business values. I just had a call with a client this morning. We were talking about that in the alignment, because he asked me, well, how do I know, Otis? You talk about, in my role, in my experience after the Army, I worked for all these different businesses, and every one of those businesses, at about the 90-day mark, I started to get this pit in my gut about, I don't like it here, or the coffee doesn't taste good. Everything just started to go bad, right?
Right.
And it's because my values didn't align with that business. They weren't bad businesses. Their values weren't like illegal or irregular or anything like that. They just didn't align with mine. And because they didn't align with mine, I could never be satisfied there. So you need to make sure you have that clarity, your purpose, your values, and then your team needs to understand who they are, what their values are. And when their values align with the business values, that's where we start to get excitement. That's where we start to get a team. We're creating the tribe within our business, because you have to have that organization tied together to be successful, to want to perform. Otherwise, you just get a whole bunch of people that you're paying that are off doing their own things. And occasionally they might, the blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, or a broke, I used to be able to say a broke watch is right 2 times a day, but unless you're wearing this kind of a watch, that ain't true anymore.
No.
So yeah, that's how's that? I rambled on for a little bit.
That was some good rambling. I liked it. So, I mean, a lot of us have these core values. Like you said, we have a poster in the conference room. I've got mine. It's in right behind my desk, so that I can see it every day. And I know I've been guilty of this over the years too. If you have the core values, you have to actually not just live them out. I mean, as the owner, founder, you should be living out those values in your business, but you have to be using them. For instance, in hiring, you need to make sure you're hiring with those core values all throughout your process of hiring, and your interview questions, and the way you write your job description and your advertisement. Because if that had been done with Otis as he was going into those jobs, he would have known up front, oh, this isn't a good match. This isn't a good match. Our values don't match. It's not a morality issue, values. It's just business values. They're going a different direction than I want to go. And so you need to have that conversation early and often. And then when you're running your teams, you need to be having those conversations and asking them, like you said, not to give you memorized versions, but what does our core value mean to you? And hear what they're saying, because they may have drifted from your core values, not intentionally, but they may have drifted off. And so you've got to be having those regular conversations, and that's hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's managing a small business is not easy, especially if you want to try to really have a successful business. where you have a team or a tribe, you've got to work at it. So,
well, there's one other thing I'll throw out.
Yeah.
On that is those two things, your purpose and your values, provide the foundation for the culture of the organization.
Mm.
And without a purpose and without values, doesn't mean you don't have a culture. It just means that you don't have control of it. You're not being intentional with the culture that you're creating. And if you want a team to operate like a team, then you got to have the purpose and the values for that team. And that's going to be the foundation to create the culture. Because what do we all want as business owners, as leaders? We want a team that is just like I was describing earlier, my special forces team, a team of experts who work together and have the authority to question decisions and provide suggestions and feedback without feeling like they're going to be threatened or fired. So
Yeah.
culture is a critical aspect.
Yeah, one of my favorite TV shows is SEALs, and I'm actually rewatching it, and I know it's not, it may not closely match reality, but every time they go on a mission, there's a briefing, and the commanding officer is giving them they know their big mission to serve our country and protect it and defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic enemies. But their specific mission for the day even is done in a briefing, so everyone's on the same page every day. And it gets in business, you have to do that same thing. Do you find in your coaching that they may have explained the overall vision of the business, but they aren't keeping in touch on a daily basis to, hey, here's what we're doing today, this week, this month?
Yeah, that's a great example. And that's why I say the purpose of the vision. Let me explain why the purpose of the business, because purpose is something that can never be fulfilled or completed. You only use your purpose to drive you. Your purpose is your fuel that drives you. There is no end state to a purpose. There's always more room to put more in that cup because it doesn't run over. Your purpose cup does not run over because you can always do more and tweak it more and have more of it. And that's why it continues to drive you throughout your life.
Yep.
A mission has a complete point. A mission has an end state.
I like that.
For businesses, you can have a mission. The mission is we're going to write this proposal. The mission is we're going to serve this client on this contract for the next 5 years. And we can do all that. That's very clear and it's finite, right? Because a mission has an end state. In the military, when we do, just like you were describing on the TV show, we would get a mission. And when I received a mission, I had an end state. This is the outcome that by doing who, what, when, where, and why, that understanding that why, that gives me the outcome to be successful. And that's what we have to do in business. You can't have, man, who was it that said it? I can't remember. Maybe you remember, Scott. You have to play the infinite game.
I don't remember who said that. Right.
Yeah. It was like a Simon Sinek sort of a quote. And when you think about it, that's what business is. There's no end state. We talk about, an exit plan for your business. Okay. Maybe we could play with words and debate whether or not that's an end state, but to get there is infinite. And we got to play the infinite game in it, because it's not, okay, we're done, shut it down for today, show up tomorrow, we'll do it again. We'll start that mission right back up again.
Hey there, it's Scott Reeb, cutting in for a quick moment. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding value in our discussions, you're going to love the Access Plan. It's designed for entrepreneurs like you, offering unlimited legal advice without the worry of high hourly fees. With the Access Plan, you can get the legal support you need at a flat monthly rate so you can focus on growing your business with confidence. Head over to reeblaw.com/access to learn more and join Access now and get busy shatterproofing your business. Now let's get back to our amazing guest.
Yeah, because even if you sell your business, the business goes on. It's no longer your mission or your purpose. You've moved on, but the business still has that purpose. So what is the purpose of your business?
I love it when people ask me that. is to create a legacy of leaders. Because
Yep.
we believe at Tribe and Purpose, we believe that great leaders create great organizations. And when we have great organizations in our communities, we're going to have better communities. And when we have better communities around the world, guess what? We're going to have a better world. And that right there gets me up every morning, cranky, broken, stiff, hurting, and gets me going right into what it is I want to accomplish, my mission for today, because I have that purpose that fuels me each and every day of my life, that drives me forward to create that legacy of leaders.
And you do business with your son, Cam, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. It's quite a privilege.
Yeah, and I need to get Cam on and do on the show as well, and do another interview and get his take on all this. It's so cool that you guys get to do that. I've got my sons are involved in my business too, and it's, like you said, it's a privilege and a real blessing. So you guys do the what used to be the Cam and Otis show is the 10X.
10X your team with Cam and Otis.
Okay.
Yep.
So what inspired you to do the show?
Well, it was a whim. So I had a little bird tell me, Otis, you should start a podcast. And at the time, Camden had his own business. And I was like, well, what better way to get content and free advertisement than to record something and do this RSS thing and push it out to everybody's phones that wants to listen to it. I mean, that's why there's 4 or 5 million, 20 million, some ridiculous amount of podcasts, because everybody else went, dang, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We ought to do that, because we're getting some great content. We're sharing what we know, which, by the way, is a foundational belief of mine, because if I'm not sharing what I know and what I've experienced with others, I'm being a selfish SOB, because I can't take it with me.
Yep.
So I'm sharing what I know with others and helping them be more successful, giving them the opportunity. That's why we started the show. And it's morphed into, now Camden is part of Tribe and Purpose. He is also one of our coaches. He's we co-host the show, and we continue to grow that, because that's what we love to do. We love to extract what other people have done, like when we had you on the show, and how'd you get there, what'd you do, what'd you screw up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we share that with others so they could hear that and go, oh, well, I didn't screw it up as bad as Scott did or Otis did.
Yeah. And so this show, you say it was a whim, but the idea fits your purpose and your values.
Exactly. It was and when I say a whim, I guess I'm downplaying it. It was thought out because I knew that it would help us fulfill that legacy, fulfill the purpose of the business, which is to create the legacy of leaders.
Right.
So that's, it's no different, than my, one of my favorite things to do is recording whiskey words. I'm sharing some thoughts and knowledge that I have out there to the world for anybody to partake in it, so that they could get that one little nugget. Because, Scott, one of my favorite things is when I first started pushing things out there, just because you record something like this or anything, and you post it out to the world, and you never know. Sometimes you get feedback, right? But you never know. But I have this strong belief that when I post things where I share my knowledge, whether it's Whiskey Words, the podcast, my weekly newsletter, Monday Moments, whatever that is, that I share, that I believe that at some point, someone, somewhere will read it, hear it, or see it, and it will affect them in a positive way. I believe that truly.
Why do you believe that?
Because I want to make a change in the world. I want to make the world a better place. And the only way to keep going without getting feedback from somebody on a daily basis of what I put out or what I wrote or anything like that. Without that, you have to believe it. You have to believe that what I'm sharing will have an effect on somebody. I'll take it one step further, and kind of a derivative of this belief is the smile and the nod in a crowd of people you don't know. Or like my favorite thing is the aisle of the Walmart, right? We're going down the cereal aisle of the Walmart, and here comes somebody, they're looking at the Cheerios or whatever, and we got to play the basket game, get out of each other's way. And they're just smiling, kind of nod. Now, whether or not they smile and nod back doesn't matter, because I believe that I just made a positive effect on that stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe they may, whether they smiled back at me or not, they may, the next person they see in that aisle or out in the parking lot, that they'll smile and nod at them.
Pass it on.
Man,
yeah,
that's how you make a positive change in the world. You don't have to have $1 billion company.
Nope.
You have to take care and consider people and respect people. Respect that human being for being another human being, with something as easy as the country road 2-finger wave on the steering wheel. Hey, let's go.
Hey.
The smile and the nod in the store or a crowd or wherever. Man, make eye contact. Make eye contact. Give that person a smile and a nod, because that's making an impact on them. I know it is.
Yeah. So you're a business coach. Tell me what is a business coach?
So what we do is we help businesses, small businesses, launch to the next level of growth. And we do that through a number of processes. Leadership development is one of them. We have a leadership development program, Green Beret leadership development program. And where we think we're making the most impact is our fractional COO. So our fractional COO process comes into small businesses that are approaching the threshold of graduation, if you will, graduation to a large business. So they're no longer getting all the little SBA benefits or the US government set-asides in their business. And now they've got to compete with the SAICs, the General Dynamics, the Lockheed Martins, because they're going to be a big business. Well, as a fractional COO, we come in and we help you, that small business leader, get the clarity and focus in your purpose of the business, the values, the processes, the tools, the people, the capabilities, and where do you want to go. We allow, by doing that, by taking that burden off the CEO and founder, we allow the CEO founder to focus on where do we go? How do we not just cross that threshold, to walk across the graduation stage, if you want to think about that picture. We're going to launch across the graduation stage. We're not just going to go, oh crap, now we're a big business. No, we're stepping in and saying, look out, Lockheed Martin, look out, General Dynamics, because we're coming. That's what a fractional COO from Tried and Purpose does, is it launches that small business to the next level of growth.
How do you know when you're ready for that?
There's a couple of ways. In the government contractor space, it's very defined. It's defined by a 3-year average of revenue in your NAICS code. So whatever your NAICS code, and there's all these variances depending on your revenue, your number of employees, depending on what your NAICS code is. So because it's a 3-year rolling average, business owner, you should be tracking your revenue and see where your revenue is, and projecting your revenue out to see, where am I going to hit that threshold? I have a client I'm working with right now. They know, boom, on this date, 1 January 2026, we are no longer a small business. We no longer get any of the small business benefits. And they are planning that right now. And that's one of the things that I'm helping them plan and do and prepare for that, because they do not plan to gracefully, slowly walk across that stage and get to the other side and go, Oh, well, now I've graduated. No, they planned
Now
to
what?
say, boom,
Let's
look
go.
out, Lockheed, look out, MEP, look out, Booz Allen. Here we come. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the way to do it. And that's the way to survive. Many businesses cross that threshold and fall on their face and go damn near bankrupt because they don't plan for it and they're not intentional in that launch.
So what's coming? What's the future? What's coming up for you guys?
That's the biggest thing is our focus on the fractional COO.
Okay.
We're launching that. We continue to do our show, and we will continue to do our show. We have too much fun with the 10X Your Team. We've really focused on growing our followers on YouTube, which, being from the generation that you and I are in, I was very proud of myself. I watched a show on YouTube the other day. That was the first time I've actually watched a show.
Yeah.
So I had to brag to my son about it. Hey, guess what I did?
I'm with you.
Yeah. So that is the fractional COO. We are super excited about it because we see that making a huge impact for small businesses, because every business was a small business at one point, right?
Yep, that's right.
And if you as the business owner, founder, see that growth, see that threshold coming, Drive and Purpose fractional COO is the way to launch yourself into that growth.
Where would the listeners find you? How should they connect?
So best place is go to 10xyourteam.net, and you can learn more about the fractional COO. We have a link there to learn more about what fractional COO is. We also have a link to our podcast on that same landing page. So that's 10xyourteam.net.
Okay. So go find him and talk to him. Look into these programs, guys, because this is some good stuff. As we get ready to close, Otis, there's some entrepreneur out there listening right now, small business owner that's struggling. What would you say to them?
I love my metaphor from when I was a ranger at ranger school, not a ranger, but ranger school. Sorry. You stop, face out, take a knee, drink some water, and change your socks. And if you feel like it's all falling apart, if you say that to yourself, even you don't really know what it means, but you think about that. I'm going to stop. I'm going to face out. I'm going to take a knee, drink some water, change my socks. So I've added some fuel. I put some water back in my body. I'm taking a break, catching my breath, putting socks on, refueling, getting ready to move again. If you do that pause, when you feel like it's all falling apart, if you pause like that, just say that to yourself. You could even just say that like my mom used to spell out patience when I was growing up. That was mom's way of facing out, taking a knee, drinking water, and changing her socks. But I learned it that way. And when you do that, and you're separating yourself from that moment of chaos when it feels like it's all falling apart, you'll start to gain clarity. Because if you continue to pound your head and continue to run and run and run without clarity and without a direction that you're certain of, or that you're not listening to those guys on the team that are telling you, or the data, which can still represent the guys on the team that are telling you.
Yeah.
Just do that. Pause, face out, take a knee, drink some water, and change your socks.
Great advice. Thank you for that. Well, as we close, Otis, I want to give you a blessing. May you be blessed in all your endeavors. May you be prosperous in every aspect of your life. May your path be enlightened with wisdom, health, and fulfillment. May your work not only achieve success, but create an unbreakable business legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed the show, like and subscribe. Go check out Otis's stuff at 10X, and we'll see you next week on the Shatterproof Entrepreneur. Until then, stay Shatterproof.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. While I'm your host, Scott Reeb, and a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, and this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed by my guests are their own and not mine, and they may not even reflect the opinion of the Shatterproof Entrepreneur podcast. So we strive to provide valuable and accurate content, but we make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information to your particular situation, and won't be liable for any errors or omissions for the application of them. Always consult a professional or in the respective area that we've discussed before making any personal or business decisions.